Hey, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Our Kids Play Hockey. We want to let you know that we have once again been honored with a nomination for the Hockey Podcast of the Year via the Sports Podcasting Awards. And all you need to do to help us is go to ourkidsplayhockey.com and click on the Vote Now button. It asks you a couple questions. You're in and you're out, and you have voted for us for Hockey Podcast of the Year. I want to thank you all for being a wonderful, wonderful audience and helping us get to this stature of hockey podcasting, because we've done it as a family, as the hockey friends and families around the world. Thanks so much and enjoy this episode of Our Kids Play Hockey. Everybody, it's Lee. So as we approach the new year, the three of us know from experience, and a lot of you probably know, this is a really delicate time for any team. A lot of teams break around the holidays. So we put this episode together of how to keep your team from breaking at the midway point, that lull, the midseason lull. And Mike, Christy, and I go through a lot of great tips and tactics for you to prepare now, which is really the key to keep your team from breaking at the holidays. And this does not matter if you're winning every game, losing every game, or somewhere in between. Preparation is key this time of year for coaches, players, and parents to make sure they can get through that time of the year successfully. So enjoy that. Just like last week, if you haven't heard already, we put together a bunch of holiday bundles for your teams and for you as individuals if you're interested. And instead of shouting them all out here and sounding like a used car salesman, we'd rather you just email us directly, team@ourkidsplayhockey.com. Email us and just make the subject, I'm interested in your holiday deals or whatever. If you want to type anything else, you can too. And we'll get back to you with everything we're providing. And the three of us, between books, hockey solutions, and wraparound and everything else that we do, we got some great things together for this audience because you've been so loyal to us. But without further ado, let's talk about that mid-season lull and how you can protect it. Our Kids Play Hockey coming at you right now. Hello, hockey friends and families around the world, and welcome to another edition of Our Kids Play Hockey. I'm joined by literally the best two people on the planet to podcast with, Mike Bonelli and Christy Casciano Burns. Every episode, it's a lovely way to start the week. I'm not going to lie to you. Or if you're listening to this later in the week, it's a lovely way to end the week. But today, we have a topic for you that's really important this time of year. It's getting to the colder months. It's getting to mid-season. It's getting to the holidays. And we wanted to do kind of a beware, kind of cautious episode of, this is a time period where a lot of teams can fall apart during the year. It's also a time period where a lot of teams can reinvigorate and come back. But the key to success at this time of year is to plan. So this one's really for the coaches a lot, but parents, you too, because how you navigate these next few months can really make or break your season. All right. And we're speaking from experience here. And Mike, I'm going to start with you. And again, I've seen this so many times. You have a great start. Your team is kind of flowing. And then the holidays hits and the trips hit and the school stuff hits and then winter break hits. And it's all of a sudden no one's showing up or you can't find anybody. You're getting frustrated because no one's telling you what's going on, or you have a game and only 6 people show up, and that team bond or that team cohesiveness begins to break, right? You can prepare for this. A lot of it comes down to communication, but I'm going to talk with you, Mike, first. Mike, Coach Mike, talk to me about the lull that happens at the holidays.
Yeah, so let's fight the lull. Let's make sure that we're preemptively knowing and letting our parents and kids know that we know there's going to be a lull. Right. Like, we know there's going to be an issue. We know kids are going to get sick. We know school plays are going to happen. There's concerts. There's other things outside of our hockey life that will get in the way and derail us. There'll be decisions we have to make, whether we went early in the season to soccer and football and did it instead of hockey, or or vice versa. My kid's a great soccer player, and now they're in the playoffs, and come November, that they might have to miss a game or two. So I think a lot of this has to do. What we have to do is try to be conscious of how can we proactively approach this, so when we do get to the lull, we've already prepared for it. Now, if we didn't do that, now it's crunch time for a coach to communicate.
Right.
Get that information out there. You don't have to be like, listen, I know next week we're going to get our butts handed to us, but you can be like, hey, listen, we're going to go into some struggling times. This is the time where we got to be a team. This is the time when we have to work and fight for each other. This is the team where maybe we have to do some more team building exercises and family, oriented exercises, and exercises where maybe it's not all on the ice. Maybe a lot of it could be just meeting up and socializing and having the kids kind of find a bond for each other. And I always find that when we can get those kids to have that bond for each other, the onus goes on the kid to fight to make sure they're at that practice and that game, because they don't want to let their teammates down, because now there's a vested interest in them being there, because they feel like there's a vested interest in their being there. I think we can all solve that. These are all the kind of things that we as coaches, we can bring on ourselves, right? If you're never going to play your quote second string goalie at the 10U level, and all of a sudden your first string goalie is going to miss a week because they have a soccer tryout or soccer finals, and then you're going to ask the second string kid, hey, we really need you now. Like, where the hell have I been for the last 2 months? Right. Like why have you been treating me like not as a team member? So it goes the same way with players, defensemen, forwards. I mean, the fact is at the youth level, we all know this, right? If we're not rolling lines, if we're not just going 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, every other day, this goalie gets in, then we're just it's just, for me, it's hard to understand. But I do understand when we do that, when we do sit kids, when we do shorten the bench, when we do limit playing time, that when the crunch time comes where we're missing kids and there's injury and there's losses, it's real easy for kids to quit. Mm-hmm. It's real easy for your teammates to leave you, because there's that you didn't feel value when you were winning. You didn't feel value when you were in the thick of the fight. So why would you feel, what makes you think you'd feel more value when your team's not good? Right. So just a lot of this can be proactively approached and kind of nipped in the bud, as they say.
These are things that can break your team. That's again, we're talking about this a couple of points of view. Go ahead.
Right. You raise a good point about when the season isn't going well, and it's stressful. You got you're being pulled in all different directions, school, this commitment, family, whatever else is going on in your life. And then you're in the middle of a season that's just awful. But you have to resist the temptation of joining the negative force, and they're going to be swirling, and they're going to try and suck you in. Trust me, I've been there. And they want to maybe even talk about a coup attempt, right? Yeah. It's not our kids, it's not us, it's the coaches.
Oh, that's the worst.
It's so important to step back and be that positive force, because your team's going to need it if you want to survive the rest of the season. And it's really, really easy to fall into the trap of that negative force that's going to try and suck you in. But you got to resist that. It's not good for you. It's not good for your kids. It's not good for the team. It's not good for the coaches. So you got to try and if you're in that situation, look for all the victories that your kid is achieving. Whether it's they're skating a little better, or hey, they're passing better, or look at how much growth they've achieved, and try and resist that negative temptation.
Well,
just for your own mental health too.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll say this too. This is really a lot more for coaches right now than just the parents in general. But parents, you can always suggest this, and Mike alluded to it. 10 out of 10 problems are caused by poor communication, right? Yeah. So you got to communicate. And again, this episode's coming out mid-November. Now is the time to reach out and ask questions, communicate, general inquiry. Hey, who's planning trips for the holidays and will not be around? Don't wait till the day before you're leaving to tell the coach that, parents, right? Tell them now, or coaches, ask now, who's not going to be here, number one. Number two, coaches, managers, this is a seesaw moment. You have to decide. It's not always easy. Some coaches lean in on it. We have to do more. We have to do more. We have to be together more. That might be true, but sometimes you need a break. Sometimes it's actually less of maybe the kids need a week off or a day off. You have to gauge that as a coach. Every team's different, and I've seen it work both ways. Christy, I've seen it where the team is struggling really bad, and sometimes coaches lean in and let's do more, and that's not what should be done. The kids just need a break, right? Sometimes it is.
That is true. Sometimes they do need more,
right?
But sometimes there could be some signs of burnout.
Totally.
Let's just step away.
Don't we all see that? I mean, imagine if you had Thanksgiving 5 days in a row. Be like, oh my God, I'm going to kill my family. Like, I can't take this anymore. Like, this is way too much. Like, exactly. I love the day, and then so I think Lee's point is like a lot of coaches say, oh my God, we're falling apart. We got to get on the ice more. We got to have more video. We have to do more team building. I'm like, no, maybe you just need to get the heck out of the room and let the kids breathe a little bit here.
Hit the reset button. Exactly.
And again, depending on the level, depending on the age, this is something you have to gauge yourself. But we're just trying to make sure we at least pose the question to you of what does your kid need. Here's another one. If you're not sure, ask the parents. Do you think the kids need a break, or do you want to do more? Again, in my limited time in youth hockey, again, I can talk as a player too. But last year we played a lot of games, and at the holidays we needed a break. This year the schedule's a little more tame. And I think we're in a position, maybe we can do a little more team building, right? We can come together and have something fun, an event together. But I think it's important, no matter where you're at, you got to remember a few things. And this is where we got to kind of step out of our own little story and step out of our own mind a little bit. You got to remember what it's like to be a teenager or to be young. All right. The holidays may be wonderful, beautiful times with your family, can also be a complete nightmare for some kids. All right. It can be incredibly stressful. And it can be incredibly nerve-wracking. Plus, you put school on top of it and midterms and all these things. You have to gauge this for your team and your kid. Coaches, do not forget how stressful school is for kids, especially in the higher grades this time of year. There's a lot going on. And then you got to go see your family. And again, that could be wonderful or it could not. There were years I remember I couldn't wait to see my family. There were years, my teenage years especially, where I was like, I don't want to do this. So you just kind of have to. I mean, look, there were years I just wanted to be in the rink. I didn't want to be near anyone but be in the rink, right? Yeah. So it depends, right? And again, I can tell you this too as a player, that you just naturally start to get exhausted at this time of the year. Think about it from a time perspective. You've been with the team 2 or 3 months. By the time the holidays hit, you might start getting a little sick of each other. Completely normal. That happens in all families. But you have to gauge it, right? If the kids are sick of each other, it's like, okay, I've been doing this, it's monotonous. Give them a break. Or, like I said, shuffle the deck a little bit. Do something fun. Maybe have a practice where you don't play hockey. You do something else on the ice. Or take a practice slot. We talked about this in our previous episode, Christy. Take a practice slot and turn it into a team skate where it's not practice. Right? Missing one practice won't kill you. I know every coach is like.
Some beach balls on the ice. Kick it around. Do some fun stuff, Play tag. It's great. Yeah, there are a lot of fun things you can do just to ease up on the tension and remind the kids of why they're there,
Right. And again, I've been on both sides of this, Mike. I'm going to turn this to you. Coaches, I know some of you are screaming like, no, we got to practice. We got to use every practice second. Look, I'm a stickler for that too, but I also understand the value in just taking a night off and letting them relax for a minute. There's a lot of value in that. Clears the mind, right? So just coaches, parents, managers, just think about this now, how you're going to prepare for that inevitability. Excuse me. That's my English not coming through. But I'm going to tell you this again, even at the pro ranks when I work, we plan for this. We know it's going to happen. We know the players need a break. We work them into the schedule. All right. Again, there's a reason a lot of NHL teams, if you don't want to take it from me, a lot of NHL teams do their mom or dad trip this time of year. So the parents are around, the family is around, because that season's a massive grind. All right. A lot of pro teams do that, not just in the NHL. There's a reason they do that. And there's a reason they plan that around the holidays, right? It's because they know the players need it. So again, most of you listening are not coaching a kid at a pro level, but the point is, if they do it, if it's good enough for them, it's got to be good enough for you. But again, Mike, to your point, if it sneaks up on you, it's already too late. And I'm going to say this again, coaches, if you're having a great year, or really adversely or bad year, this can break your team for the rest of the season bad if you don't plan for it. Young coaches especially. I know you are incredibly dedicated. I know you, right? I was you once. You got to plan for this. Mike, sorry, throwing it back to you.
No, you're absolutely right. It's just it comes down to knowing your team. Like, I always see like the end of the year, at least parent-child games, right? You could do that in November. Why wait to the end of the year? Right. If you want to have your kids out there with the parents and having fun and laughing, like and sometimes the best time to have these lighter moments is in the worst times. It is after 5 losses in a row. Agree. It is after, a time where you think, oh my God, everything in the world is ending. I mean, for God's sakes, it's youth hockey. If your my hockey rankings went, if you went from, 250th to 560th, doesn't matter. Just make sure that you're just in a situation where your kids love coming to the rink, and maybe you have to change up what love coming in the rink is.
Mike, have you ever been with a team, you're in the middle of the season and you just feel the tension everywhere on the ice with the parents, you know. And so how do you handle that? What do you do?
Yeah, well, ironically, sometimes I think in many seasons I felt that tension on really, really good teams that are winning,
Mm.
because at some point, especially when I was younger and I really didn't appreciate, the full team having to be involved. It comes from the kids that aren't playing. They don't care that you're winning. Like those parents, if I go to a rink every day, right, my kid's not playing, I don't care if the team's 10-0 or 20-1. Like I don't care because my kid's not playing. So what happens? The tension really builds there because now you start separating the team. And, it took me a long time to really understand the fact that, well, the more I get everyone involved earlier, even if we're not like I always try to preface seasons by saying it doesn't matter if we go 20-11 or 20-0. We're still going to make the play. Like our goal is to be in the playoffs. Our goal is to be playing after the season. So it doesn't matter how we get there, but we're going to get there by having a team effort, not by having a them and us effort, like them and those kids effort. Mm-hmm. And I think, and so in the middle of the seasons, when you do have that tension, that's really the times where I found, and again, this is probably my personality more, like I didn't run from it. Like I didn't go hide from it. I'm like, okay, this is unbelievable. This is what a great opportunity for us to get out of the tension, because now we can really be creative. And that's what coaching's all about, right? Coaching is about finding ways to get people to, row the boat together and, not start, one side's rowing, the other side's throwing anchors over the side. So it's just a matter of saying, what can we do? And that adversity, certainly if you can help the parents understand that adversity is helping their kids by the way you teach those lessons, that's even better. Right. So even the parents that are the winners, like the ones winning the games and blaming the kids that aren't winning the games, you can at least get to the point where you're like, well, this is a lesson that we're all going to learn because it's going to help your child ultimately, maybe more than the kids aren't playing.
Right. And it goes back to that communication is so important because we've been with teams where the coaches, it's my way or the highway. I don't care what you say. It's just, we're just going to do it my way. And that doesn't always work. And I think that adds to the animosity and the tension and misunderstanding because there's no communication.
It's working.
Well, you also can't be afraid that if a parent says they have a great idea for a team building exercise, you have to be able to say, yeah, do it. Like empower them instead of saying, oh no, if they do it and they're successful, that's going to make me look bad. I'm like, no, hopefully it makes you look great. Like that you reached out of your expertise or your, because sometimes you get disconnected as a coach sometimes. Like you don't know what these kids are doing on the weekends together and what kind of because got to remember youth hockey, it's all about friendships. It's all about what are the relationships off the ice. It's all about who's friends with who and who grew up with who lives on whose block. But you have to use that to your advantage. And the only way to do that is to communicate,
right? Open
yourself, have some vulnerability, and have other people that have expertise in doing. Like I'll give you not a great example, but one example. There was a team struggling right out of the gate here a couple of weeks ago, and the one parent is like a culinary teacher. They do like adult classes for kids to learn how to cook. So they brought all the kids in. They did a whole cooking class. But what we did was help the team strategically put the kids that were having the conflict together on the same oven, right? Brilliant. So they had to work out little that just chinks away. And they left there. There's no winner or loser. I mean, I think they made brownies or something. Everybody's stuff came out, pretty
Mike,
bad.
What is it for?
But what's not bad? Well, what's bad with sugar and milk? Something's gonna come out right.
Well, again, Mike, what is that forcing those kids to do? And this is going to reiterate the point. When you put you forcing them to do what? Communicate, right?
Yeah. They can't just let the thing burn, and the one kid can't be just the one kid can't just sit there and look and go, well, I'm not, and then on the other side of that though, there are going to be some kids who are like, well, this is stupid, I'm not doing this, and then you find out like who those kids really are. Right. So then if they are the kids that are those kids, maybe it could be your best player. That's the worst. That's the worst teammate. You can find these things out so fast in these kind of situations.
A lot of
I can't wait to get reaction from our listeners saying, we're doing a cooking class, and it was brilliant. It was the ingredients to success.
Well, whatever it is,
No,
whatever
worse,
it is.
Mike, they did burn down the building.
They burned down the building.
No,
they did burn the building.
But by the way, I don't take it. Yeah, I want to have a disclaimer here that it wasn't my cooking class. I don't advocate for you.
This was not Mike's idea. Don't blame us.
I love this idea. I think every team should do this.
So,
but you could do it with anything. You could build paper mache masks. It doesn't matter. You could do whatever you want. It's just a matter of putting the kids in places where it doesn't matter if they can skate backwards or forward. Doesn't matter if they can score or play defense.
Right.
Doesn't matter if they're a goalie or the best winger. All it matters is, can I speak to the person next to me and solve a problem? Cooking is a really great problem solving activity, especially baking, which I found out. Not cooking steak. You can't screw it up too bad. But if you don't follow baking directions like precisely, right, you could come out with a horror show. So
that's true. You have to be exact with baking.
You have to know. You have to read directions and follow the guide, right? So
to the letter.
I wouldn't eat those kids' brownies, but who cares? Like, I think the fact that they made them was great, right? And I think it just, and I don't mean to get off subject, but it's just, these are the lulls of the season. These are the times where you got to be. You can't just say, you know what I'm going to do. You got to all show up at 5:30 tomorrow morning at the rink. We're gonna skate. We're gonna bag skate you, so you're puking, and we're gonna puke the bad out of you.
Which I have seen coaches do.
I've done it. Listen, guilty as charged. I've done it more so than I wish to even admit, because I never had the resources to know anything else. That's just what my coach did to us. I'm like, I don't know. Seemed to work for me.
Right. And that's what one of my son's coaches did. They had a horrible season, and right in the middle of it, he just yelled at them how lousy they are. They're terrible. You're coming to the rink 8:00 in the morning. You're going to skate until you puke.
Yeah. What's more motivating than skating and being called a loser?
So motivating.
I mean, it's hugely motivating.
We're bringing up a good point.
That's what his coach did.
I want to reiterate this, that Christy, you said it earlier, and we're talking about it right now. That type of coaching is slowly fading, as it should. It doesn't work as well as it used to. I'm not saying there's not moments for hard coaching or hard lessons. That there absolutely is. And depending on the level, you need to gauge this, what your goals are for the season. Obviously, at the young age, we talk about this. It's really about love of the game and understanding how to compete and basic skill sets. You get to a AAA level, winning matters. You get to a college level, a pro level, it becomes your job. All right. But here's the deal. We've spoke to a lot of NHL players and a lot of NHL coaches, and the ones that are succeeding now are not doing it that way. They're understanding that these players are people, and that you need to treat them as people, and you need to meet them where they're at and get to know them a little bit. And for those of you that love the hard coaches, the Tortorellas and the coaches like that, and again, they have their place in the game, but there's a reason these guys only stay in a place for 2 to 3 years. All right, and keeping in mind that's pro hockey, right? It's a job. Gauge for your team, especially you young coaches. Mike, I'm guilty of that too when I was a younger coach. You got to meet these players where they're at. There's a lot going on in their lives too, right? And more is not always the answer. Go ahead.
No, I'm sorry, but I'm just in my head right there. I'm like, I think it's less about young coaches and more about coaches that refuse to educate themselves,
right?
Because there's plenty of old coaches I've seen do this right now. Like this weekend, I watched a coach walk in the locker room after a team lost, and these are 11-year-old boys, and that was a horrible guys. That was embarrassing. You bunch of losers. And I'm like, how are you even coaching? Like how is a parent and all? At that age too, the parents are still kind of around the locker room, like they're right there, right?
Called a bunch of 11-year-olds, you said?
11-year-old.
Called them a bunch
that
of losers.
toughens them up, doesn't it?
This is, and there's the problem is there's that one or two parent that's like, that, of course, that's gonna get them. Screw them. Like those kids.
That's what they need.
They needed that lesson. They need to toughen up. I'm like, listen, that's not tough love. That's just being an like. It was so funny because the parents like, well, is there a safe sport violation there? I go, no, the guy's just a jackass. Like I said, that has nothing. Again, I guess over time, yes, you're abusing the kids, if you come in every single day and be like, hey, okay, losers, let's go. Okay, you sack of potatoes, let's go. Okay, and again, you can do it in different ways, right? But this is not the way to do it. And to your point, even coaches that are hard, I can guarantee you, if they're hard and they're successful, they're doing something else we're not seeing to connect to those players.
Yeah.
Being hard and being an ass are two different things. Like, they're not mutually exclusive. Like, you could be a hard coach. Like, I consider myself, well, I used to. I'm not. I'm definitely softer now, but I consider myself a hard coach that loves his players.
Right.
But then knowing where that line is a learning curve. It's a learning experience, and the only way to do it is A, through experience, B, through education, and C, from results. Right. So if you get those things and you're getting results and changing your way of doing things, when you go through these mid-season lulls, I could go right back and say, well, why didn't it get better? Well, let's go back to November, and see how you reacted and what you did to help stem the rest of the season. If it was, I'm looking for another job because I can't take these kids, what do you think the parents are doing? They're all looking for other teams too in November. Sure. So you got to get in there, get dirty, make a different experience for the kids. It can have nothing to do with hockey, but just make it a place where it comes right back to communication, love, and caring. If you do those things, people can overlook losing,
right?
If you care, and you could frame things in a place where we're learning more than just winning. And what's the old, like, I still use that. Who thinks that winning isn't very important? Losers. Because you don't win, right? So, but sure. the fact is, you have to frame it better. Like, okay, it doesn't. Winning is not everything.
It's not the only goal.
Lee, you've worked with many teams, right, that are winners, winning, but they hate the sport. They hate coming to the rink. They're winning, but do they love their teammates? They're winning, but they're just not like.
It depends how you define the word winning. And I've always encouraged.
And we're talking about, and we're talking here. I highly doubt there's 32 NHL coaches listening to this podcast, although it'd be great if they were. We're not talking to them. We're talking to the coach and the parent of 10-year-olds and 12-year-olds and 16-year-olds and 7-year-olds, the ones that have to understand that there's so much more in our sport than winning. And a lot of that can be defined by looking at your team in November.
Think about it. What's the first question? Coaching Mites. The first question after the game, we don't keep score. What's the first question they ask? Did we win? Right. And it's, I think myself, man, they're really pre-programmed to think this way. And most of us say score doesn't matter, but you got to go further than that. Hey, maybe you do say, you know what? I think they scored more goals than us today, but you really worked hard today in net, or you really worked hard today out there. And that's the win. You can train these kids now to understand that. And this is the fear. That was, well, if you train them that, they're not going to want to when they're older. Yes, they will.
They will. Everyone wants to win.
Yeah, but what you're training
but
them
you'll also teach them about adversity and how and how many times have we said that?
Right.
You can learn some of the greatest lessons in life from adversity.
Right, but Lee does this every day, right? With your teams. If the first question after every single event is did you win, then what's the answer when you lose?
Right.
Like it's the first question is like, hey, did you win? Or is the first question, hey, did you have fun? Did you learn something? Did you make any great plays with your teammates? Hey, did it feel like the game went your way? Did you accomplish the 3 goals you set out for before the game? Like all that kind of stuff. And winning is the byproduct of all that. Until parents see that, and Lee, that's your point, right? It's like parents like, oh, if we don't drive the fact that they need to win, then they're never going to be winners.
What is winning? How do you define the word?
Right.
Right. And again, look, I'll give you a good example, because especially on the youth teams, this is one of the things I believe, right? Let's say you have a really timid kid, very timid, doesn't like to go in the corners at 8, 9, whatever. Right. And then you start figuring, well, you need to learn how to be competitive. They will, or they won't. That's not necessarily something you can give a kid, right? Like they're going to be competitive or not. What you need to be teaching them is how to work hard and how to overcome adversity, as Christy said. That's the win. Now, again, I promise you parents, I promise you coaches, that if you do this the right way, okay, because we're not talking about being soft here on kids. Of like, oh, it's okay that we didn't win. That's not what I'm saying. All All right.
Yeah.
But
Everyone gets a trophy.
I am not a fan of that. I'm not a big participation guy. Right.
Me neither.
All right. Yeah. Thank you, Christy. Right. The point is this: you're teaching them how to learn. And when they get competitive, they'll be competitive to learn. And then you won't have an 18-year-old, 17-year-old, 16-year-old kid that loses, and it's the end of the world because his team lost. You want that kid to lose, feel the loss, and also understand I can do X, Y, and Z now to improve. That's
Right.
the win. All right.
Yeah.
For life, if you will. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
You learn from your mistakes and you grow and you become a
Right.
better person, a better skater, a better, a better kid. Yeah.
And segueing
Totally.
this back, there's no better time to do this than the adversity of the holidays, because I think we're about to create another episode topic right there. I think that we should do. But the idea is this, again, friends, families, hockey families around the world. All right. The holidays are coming. You can prep for this now. Communicate. Number one, just quick tips, coaches, send a team snap, whatever you use, to the parents. Number one, hey, is anybody planning holiday trips and is going to miss games? Get that out there now. Number two, gauge where your team's at gauge. I'm having problems today talking, but I thank you for listening. Gauge where your teams are at. Do you need a break, or do you need a change of pace? Do you need to bring a team building expert in to just talk to the team? Sometimes having a different person talk can make a big difference. All right. And Mike, I also wanted to say too, you just reminded me of this. You're right about, I shouldn't keep saying young coaches. This is stuff about coaches all over the place. I'm going to stop saying that on every episode. I think I'm more applying my own experience to that. I'm making myself vulnerable here. I shouldn't apply that to just young coaches. I think coaches of every age can make these mistakes or do it right at every age. There are a lot of great young coaches that totally get this, that are way beyond where I was when I was their age. So I'm going to change that. I apologize to the listeners for doing that. But again, communicate. Who's going to be leaving for the holidays? Communicate. Hey, gang, who would like to do a special event with this team building expert or this NHL player that we can get, or a reading, whatever it is. We talked about this in our previous episode with the gift giving. Would everybody be down for a Wednesday night instead of practice? We're going to do this with this team building expert. By the way, coaches, parents, managers, do that and watch what happens. That change of pace can really do a lot. Can really do a lot for your team. Do we need a break? Maybe we take off from practice this week because I know 40% of the team is traveling. I don't need the other 4 people to show up unless you want to. Do we need a team skate? Do we need a parent skate? Communicate now and solve a problem. You could save in 2 hours 2 to 3 months of strife just by planning. I'm going to reiterate that. You can save months of peril by just spending an hour or two planning out the holidays now. So this episode is kind of your warning or heads up, if you will. It's not a buddy pass. We're making a good pass to you in front of the net right now. All you got to do is tap it in, and you're going to get a goal here, but you got to plan. You got to plan. Don't wait. Anybody, don't wait. Coaches, players, managers, players, if you're listening, tell the coach to plan now. Right. So anyway, I'm going to move around to final thoughts here because we're running out of time.
Okay. Here's what I think every team should do. You organize a holiday baking class. You have all the kids bake cookies and all Christmas cookies, holiday treats, and then you put them up in individual bags and you sell them as baked by this team. Any money you raise goes back into the team fund, which you can use for your holiday parties or gifts. And you need to put a disclaimer on it, though. May or may not be edible.
Right, we're just doing this as a team building exercise. Whether you eat it or not is your
Benelli approved.
I make some money too.
Yeah, these are not FDA approved. Do not eat them. That's a great point, Chris. Mike, I'll throw it to you before. Sorry, Christy. I apologize. Were you done? My bad.
That's it. Yeah. It'd be fun.
That sounds like a lot of fun. Again, I can see parents handing those bags. Don't eat these, but thank you.
Don't eat these. But you can buy them.
My kid made them last night. Don't eat them. Don't eat them.
Here's a gummy bear chocolate chip.
They forgot the sugar,
cookie.
but
You do not eat this cookie. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, I just I have a lot of PTSD from Novembers of past. So just be, again, think about where you are in the season. Think about how you can be proactive. Think about how you can be creative. And if the old adage, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, is not true in sports. If it ain't broke, then you have to figure out when it is going to break, because it is going to break.
Great point.
And you just got to be be there and nip it and say, okay, well, we're actually doing great. So if you're doing great and you have a great, there's no lull in the season, use this opportunity to strengthen that team
Great point.
and do something different. And it doesn't mean more power skating glasses.
That's a great point, Mike. And I'm
a good point.
I'm gonna reiterate what you said. You're having a good season. Don't think that you're infallible. It's inevitable that something is going to happen to derail that team. I'd say it's not impossible, but it's very, very rare that a team goes undefeated all the way to the championship and faces no adversity and figures it out. It's a once in a blue moon type of thing. So coaches, managers, players, parents, prepare now. My final thought is just one more idea for you if you're looking for something else to do as you get to the holidays. It's a great time to donate time. This is a great time to give back, to maybe go to a shelter, have your kids serve food to underserved people, go to a school, read a book to the kids at a school. Just find a way to serve your community and maybe donate that time. It's usually a groaner to plan and for the kids to do it, but the experience is always incredibly rewarding, and you give your kids a different perspective just to go and give that time back to people. It's just an idea. If you're looking for something to do that's not kind of at practice, find a way for your team to go and give back to the community. Again, food drives. There's lots of different ones.
Our boys all put their uniforms on and they went to a nursing home, and there were a lot of hockey fans there, and they were just thrilled to see the kids and reminisce with them about the games that they saw, and they wanted to know all the kids' names and their numbers and what positions they played. And what a memory for the seniors at that nursing home, and for our boys too. Yeah,
totally. If you're anywhere, you definitely look me up, and this is what I do every day. For programs right now, we're placing, blind hockey programs with mentor ice hockey teams. We're doing sled hockey programs with mentor teams, and we're doing this next week. We're going to be doing a program with the Wounded Warriors, with teams giving up their section of the ice so that these other athletes can participate, and them participating with them. The holidays are the best time to do that. If you're not going away in a tournament, or you have some extra ice, as they might say, or like to lead to your point, if a bunch of kids are going to be away and you only have 6 kids, but you have that ice slot, think about the teams like American Special Hockey, Blind Hockey, Wounded Warrior Project, all these teams that I work with, in saying, wow, you give up a little bit of your ice and give up a little bit of your time, and you're going to give these athletes that don't get these opportunities. And there's I know it's cliche, but it is more rewarding for the person helping, just as rewarding as the people that get the opportunity to be on that ice slot. And this could happen throughout the whole United States. I mean, I don't just do this in the tri-state region. It takes literally a phone call and a little bit of scheduling. And the next thing you know, that sled hockey team showing up at your rink at 7:00 on a Thursday night. They're sharing the ice with you. You're giving up one slot a year.
You're not giving it up, right? You're not giving it up. You're enhancing it.
You're saying to yourself, well, okay, I'm not gonna work on the power play today. I'm gonna work on making other athletes appreciate the sport more and giving something to my kids more. Those are really great things you can think about this time of the holidays.
That's a great point, Mike. Yeah, if you want to get in contact with the legendary Michael Bonelli, email us, team@ourkidsplayhockey. We'll redirect you right to him. Really wholesome way to end this episode. But Mike, you're right. Just to reiterate, we've all been all 3 of us, of a lot of team parties, a lot of team events. I remember every single one where we had to go somewhere to give back to somebody else. I really remember those. They had an impact on me as a person, as a player. We talk about identity on plenty of episodes here. It really allows you to play for something bigger than yourself. And all of us, myself included, need events at times to just remind you this is bigger than this season, this team, this moment, right? There's larger things at play here. And there's a lot of people in need right now that this will lift their spirits. So I think it's a really wonderful, wholesome way to end this episode. But just remind you, everybody, plan now. Now's the time. Plan it now. Don't wait. Do it now. That's the whole point of this episode. But that's, unless there's any final thoughts, nobody's no. Okay, that's going to do it for this episode of Our Kids Play Hockey. Once again, if you have questions, concerns, if you want to hear about some gift giving ideas for the holidays, email us right now, team@ourkidsplayhockey.com. One of the 3 of us will get back to you. It's guaranteed. Also, if you haven't already, share this episode in your teams. Now, share it with your friends, share it with your hockey groups. Give us those 5-star rankings on Apple or Spotify or wherever you're listening. Help us continue to climb the charts as you've done. You are the best audience in the world. I mean that every time I say it. But I can't thank you enough for doing that. So that's going to do it for this edition of Our Kids Play Hockey. Remember, we're going to be with you throughout the entire holidays. We got lots of great guests, lots of great topics coming up. So keep tuning in. Again, we launch episodes every Saturday morning and throughout the week. So thank you for Christy Casciano-Burns. For Michael Bonelli, I'm Lee Elias. Have a great week, everybody. We hope you enjoyed this edition of Our Kids Play Hockey. Make sure to like and subscribe right now if you found value wherever you're listening, whether it's a podcast network, a social media network, or our website, ourkidsplayhockey.com. Also, make sure to check out our children's book, When Hockey Stops, at whenhockeystops.com. It's a book that helps children deal with adversity in the game and in life. We're very proud of it. But thanks so much for listening to this edition of Our Kids Play Hockey, and we'll see you on the next episode.